We're really happy to welcome you today for the first webinar presentation of DefInSpace 2023. I'm happy to welcome here at Aerospace Valley today three people from the French Space Command. Colonel Bernabé, thank you for being here. Lieutenant Colonel Bourouet and Commander Perron. So thank you for being here. Thank you all online. You will have a presentation of DefInSpace, but before you will have a presentation of CDE, which is the French Space Command. You will have a presentation of LISA and their approach towards open innovation. But before that, we will start with the brand new teaser of DefInSpace 2023. And we see you just after with Colonel Bernabé, who will present the French Space Command.
So, good morning, or maybe good afternoon, according to your timing in your country. I'm Colonel Bernabé. I'm the person in charge of the Space Operation Brigade at the Space Command. So, first, I'm an engineer from the French Air Force Academy, and then I graduated as a fighter pilot in University 2000 and Rafale, and no X-Wing right now, but I expect to be a reality, let's say, in a few years. The joke apart, I must thank you all for your interest in this DefInSpace, and my presentation will show you what is the French Space Command and what do we do. And after, we'll have other presentation about the DefInSpace itself. So, as a matter of fact, space is a real strategic priority. I think that in the slide, what may struck you is that we are, a lot of domains are space related or maybe much more space dependent. As you can see there, I think it's deeply embedded in our day-to-day life, and there is a real challenge to make this always available. And so we all have space access or space access to the service that space can provide every time. From the last 10 years, there is a disruption of the space sector with mainly, I can say, the new space with a multiplication of factors. The fact that the access to space was initially something about states matter is now as well for private companies. The fact that the satellites are decreasing their size, the fact that there is a lot of much more opportunity of launch, etc., etc. It's really a disruption of the space sector that's sometimes that is addressed with the new space. So it is a challenge for everyone, I guess, to deal with this. As an example of the evolution of the space access, we can see on the slide that in 2012 there was only around 80 launches, and that 2022 was a year when every year, I should say, right now is almost a new record. So with 192 launches, so access to space, which is, you can see the figures with 250%. If I may add something on that, it's a combination of the increasing opportunities to have launches with private companies, and as well with the, as you can see on the right, the diminution of the size of the satellites with the miniaturization, sorry. That both combine this can be addressed with, in 2010, we estimate that there is around 1.5 satellite launch with one launch. Nowadays, it's much more, 13 satellites per launch. So it shows that even if there is more launches, it explains why there is such a difference in between the number of launches and the number of satellites deployed. So you can expect, especially with a constellation, that this is a real challenge in the increasing number of operational objects that are in space, and that are increasing not linearly, but much more expressionally. Sorry. So right now, there is in 2022, this is the number of operational satellites on orbit. These are big figures. They cannot be exactly accurate, but the aim for you, I guess, is to have the big figures in mind. And we expect, of course, by 2031 to have a number of satellites, which will be tens of thousands. And today we think that we are around 10,000 operational objects in space, as I am speaking in 2023. So as you can see, this increasing number is a challenge. That addresses some, of course, some risk. That risk is much more implying the specificity of the domain of space. It means dealing with debris, dealing with space weather, and the threat, it's much more what has to be addressed by the military part that I represent is different behaviors that may constitute a threat to our interest or to a peaceful use of space. As an example of the risks, okay, you can see on this slide that it's an example of what is estimated as a number of potentially dangerous objects that are closing some of our French defense satellite assets, like Ceres, CSO, different satellites, okay, and what we assume as a threat is simplified here with a distance, which is if the object, debris, for example, is coming less than 40 kilometers, we can assume that this is a risk of collision. That the risk is much more a combination of speed, orbitography aspects, and effectively distance of crossing with the assets we want to protect. So, but you can see that there is a huge number, like 300 for Ceres per week, when we have to pay attention about the objects and the risk that it may present to the satellite itself. So if you make that in parallel with the augmentation of satellites that I've shown before, which is exponential, the debris are not reducing at the same speed that the objects in space are increasing, of course. So speaking about debris, the number is constantly increasing, and we assume as a big figure, but as is constantly increasing, the figures will be not completely accurate, but the big figures are quite right. more than 36,000 of debris that already have a size of more than 10 centimeters, and around 1 million debris of a size above 1 centimeter. The tons is not really representative of something that we are taking care of it, but it shows the mass of debris that we may have in our midst. There is as well a lot of risk, regarding the number of this. These are addressed to the increasing number of debris, let's say, and they can be caused by different reasons: rupture, explosion, collision, or any abnormal events. So, as you can see, this is part of the risk. Risk which is not shown on the slide, but I may add, is addressed as well with the space waiver. We know that according to the space waiver, it can have an impact on the functionality of operational aspect in space, operational objects, in space. Space as a military perspective. So first, I should say that there is a change in France of what we usually assume to be. We used to say that we are ever in peace or in crisis or in a conflict, and so now it has changed in the perspective of the strategic point of view of what are the essence of the relation between states. We assume that we are not talking anymore about peace status or peace environment. We are saying that the states are basically in competition, which I think can be seen with the economic competition that can be observed in between states. So this is the normal state of relation between the different states. Then we assume that might come to a contestation, meaning that there is something we don't agree, so it's no longer the normal relationship we may have. And of course, the conflict, which I don't have to describe because I think it's clear in the mind of everyone. Space really has a gray zone, which is quite large due to the specificity of the domain. It's difficult, and I should emphasize it on this slide, difficult to address the threat. Who is a threat? For example, we have a lot of duality of space domain. We have a lot of satellites who can be either used for civilian purposes or for military purposes. So it's one part that may come up with a gray zone in addressing if the behavior of such the satellite can be addressed in which domain. There is no defined border or territory, so it's as well a challenge because there is no place that the satellite is considered at home and safe. Okay, it's always in an international space, and so as well as we can't, or it's difficult to see everything that's happening in space. It may be difficult to detect abnormal behavior, and in military perspective, to address which or who has performed this abnormal behavior and who is at the source of the issue that we have to deal with. So it's kind of try to explain why the gray zone might be a little bit more larger, or can be larger than in other domain than the usual one on Earth. As well, the legal framework is quite permissive, very liberal, which was the initial purpose of a law, the peaceful use of space with limited constraints. But so it means that there is not so much things that are forbidden. So it allows a big gray zone with what we may address to competitors cannot be addressed as what you're doing is not legal. So this offers to competitors or everyone a lot of space to do whatever we want, whatever they want. As well, as you have seen the increasing number of launches and satellites, there's not real regulation, no regulation of the traffic growth and the new actors, and it may come up, and it's come up with a real challenge because of this. In a military perspective, the threats I've talked about may have different aspects. Okay, some are reversible, some are non-reversible. So it means that you have some example as electronic warfare, for example, that may be for jamming, that is by essence reversible. And if I go on the far up part of it with, for example, an asset shoot, which is definitely something which is non-reversible. You have lost your assets. Not speaking about debris that are made. So in this, you know that the perspective is to have military answers that do not go through escalation, but we need to have a military answer anyway. So this is mainly the point on the example that you may see on the slide that are addressed with different manners and different tools regarding the threats that I spoke about. Space domain awareness for us is not only space itself, it's much more global. It means it's much more linked with the access to space. So it means the action that comes from Earth to space, the action into space, and as well, of course, of the use of space for operations. So it's global, which includes as well what it is necessary on the ground to command and perform the maneuver in space. That's it. I hope it's clear enough. Speaking about risk and threats, there is a milestone in it in the history of the behavior. Olympe, so the maneuver of a satellite, Russian satellite, which coming very close to Athena Philus, which was public in 2017, was considered as a non-amicable movement. And it's kind of a trigger, let's say for France, but I guess for other countries as well, of what is happening into space and the changing of use of it, of the changing of action that are performed in space. It was the trigger for the thinking of a French vision on that we need to adapt to create the appropriate structure to acquire the requested capabilities that can have us being on time and at the significant level to address the threats. So after this event of Louchelam, the 13th July of 2018, those statements are the one from the French president. So space is a national security issue. And then a year later was created the French Space Command. And so the creation of French Space Command, clearly a change of ambition, and is coming with a lot of decision that are improved either in capabilities, but much more translated, of course, in the implementation of a document, which is the French Space Defense Strategy. So the French Space Defense Strategy from 2019 recognized officially space as a domain, as a maritime domain, as air domain, as cyber domain, and not only a support domain. So it's a domain in itself. It also aims to strengthen our strategic autonomy and freedom access and action in space. So as you see, there's a direct link between everything I've told you before about the some non-cooperative maneuvers, the knowledge that we have of how it's increasing quickly, the action in space, and this is the way we initially deal with it. So now, as the representative of the French Space Command, this space strategy has been been made in the same time that the creation of a French Space Command, and which the French Space Command missions or main focus are on capability developments. It means that we need to have the tools, the object in space, but even on the ground, I will talk about that later, to be able to perform operation in space and to ensure the security of assets in space and the liberty of the assets, the liberty use of space. So, we also have education and training because we needed to have people trained for space operation and, of course, accurate with a good knowledge of what space is and what are the particularities of it. We have as well a link with the space laws and legal related to space, and I'll come back later. As I told, as a space has no border, of course, there is an international cooperation dealing with French Space Command. And what is inevitable, according to what I said before, of course, is the military space operation that we are conducted, or that we, yes, that's mainly the point. As geographic, to show you where we are right now or what we should be in 2025, there is really an increasing movement and recruitment and staffing in Toulouse, which is an ecosystem for space that is concrete today with this meeting organized by Aerospace Valley. It means that there is not only military space asset, but there is as well the National Center for Space Studies. There is a lot of industries in the space, and so a brand new building for the Space Command and as well the Center of Excellence of NATO that will be built in 2025 to host all the staffing regarding the French Space Command in Toulouse in 2025. We'll still have some units that may be in Paris and Creil, but the center of gravity will really be at Toulouse. The NATO Center of Excellence, I talked about it. I think it's a mark of trust from NATO that giving us the NATO Center of Excellence. It means that for this will be the unit dedicated for NATO in the different branch of education, training, doctrine, and analysis, lesson learned, and as well for the concept development and experimentation division. So you can see that when I'm speaking about an ecosystem in Toulouse, there is Center of Excellence, the command with the new buildings, and there is the ecosystem, the industrials as well, and the National Center for Space Studies, which come up with synergies that may help us out to be more and more efficient in space, or the capability that we are doing. As I told, there is no border, so international cooperation in space, I guess, is at least as important in other domains, but inevitable. So we are parts as examples of NATO, or the combined space operation, which is a form of discussion, let's say, at strategic and political level regarding UK, USA, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, France, and Germany. And the aim is to speak to the space issues and to come up with a common solution about it. The European Union, of course, with different projects that may come up with either space surveillance or some capacity from space, like Galileo or IRIS, for example. As I told, and maybe I'm not far to end my brief, the norms and responsibility behaviors, it's kind of different approach is to encourage responsible behaviors. It means to diminish the production of debris, to provide a peaceful use of space, to avoid escalation in space. And so we are part of different initiatives that may come up with a result of improving the different aspects that I was talking about just a few seconds earlier, mainly the idea of peaceful use of space, responsible behaviors, not making so much debris, and a kind of, not let's say regulation, but a better view on what we can do in space. As capabilities, of course, military perspective as well, we have to have our own assets into space to provide good space support for military operations. And we are improving, we are renewing our military space capabilities. Started 2018 and until 2030, but maybe later on, of course, with the different aspects of space used for operation. That's come up with optical, means, let's say, images that's coming from space, from Earth to Earth. The electromagnetic spectrum, it means scanning what it is with electromagnetic spectrum and try to have the intel linked with that, of course. And as well, of course, the SATCOM, which are essential to our movement on the ground. And I may say, as an example, that we have seen at the beginning of the Ukraine conflict that SATCOM was one of the first targeted assets for Ukraine country, which means it shows the importance of it. And of course, it's something that we are taking care of a lot. To do space operations or to be efficient in space, we need a system that we call ARES, but the idea is to have something that's in the same way can link every capabilities regarding to space domain. So the radar is a way to see what's happening in space. The radio frequency is as well a way to see by monitoring the frequencies used by the satellites to see where they are. And the optical, of course, is a way to see them. So you can see that when we track satellites, that we want to have a space situation awareness, we are using combinations of captors, which are radar, radio frequency, optical, and all of this has to enter in a common control compute, so to give us a common situation that can put all the information in the same and show us a situation that's easily seen and usable for the person in charge of a decision. Of course, we have all the space-based surveillance system, which are different satellites that I've talked just earlier with optical, electromagnetic, or satellite communication. There is prospect, of course, by 2025 to have an active defense in space. And so the aim for us is to have a command, control, and compute system that can address or be linked with everything and gives us the good information at the right time for making decision process. If I go further, you have a kind of image that shows that main challenge, I think, for the years to come is the connectivity of every asset, and which are linked in this C4 or ACE, okay, which is command, control, communicate, and compute. So there is the world of computing and high data computer linked with that. That can use a huge amount of data and do by artificial intelligence or by anything needed, give us the right information at the right decision. In this cycle, in the military perspective, we usually say that we have a loop, which is observation, analysis, decision, and action. And so this loop, observation, orientation, decision, analysis. And so this is a loop that we try to make by this use of computing system, the shorter we can. So it means that in between we observe something and we make a decision of it. It takes less time possible, which is sometimes, which is most of the time in military operation, time is a sensitive key to the success of operation. So the advanced C4 I just talked to you, have seen on the slide, it will help us in the space situation awareness with threat monitoring, and of course in real-time decision. As I know, I ended my brief with this C4 OS because I think it's really something to take into account in new perception, according to what I said at the beginning. It means the number of assets in space, the risks, the threats, But we know that our efficiency for mission perspective in space will be much more rely on connectivity and tools used for decision-making process and object that can efficiently execute the decision we've made. And so the DefInSpace and the innovation is really important for us, because we know that especially in space, innovation is really important. We talked a lot about the new space, but we know it's quite a big dynamism in this domain. And as I tell at the beginning of the brief, I really thank you for the interest you have, that you show by being here with us, and try to help us out with your own perspective, with your own point of view, to come up with ideas, solutions that may help us out to be more and more efficient in space, and help us out to make the peaceful use of space with a good comprehension of the no escalation prospects on the action military in space, and for us out to be efficient in that. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Colonel. I am Major Pascal. I am currently posted as an innovation officer at the Space Command, and I will present you the space lab of the French Space Command, which is called LISA, for Laboratoire d'Innovation Spatiale Désarmée. And so I will present you the LISA, our missions and our processes. Then I will brief you about our prospecting areas and the technologies we are on the lookout. Then I will concretely present you what we are, the project of open innovation we are developing, and then the path of innovation for the next year. So the LISA has been created in 2019 in order to detect in the civilian space ecosystem solutions, software, products, and assets which could be diverted to be used for military purpose. And so we are working with Aerospace Valley every day, and our activities is divided in 4 pillars. First, we are working on the integration in the space ecosystem. Since 4 years, we managed to net about 400 entities divided in 2 silos. First, the civilian silo. We managed to met startups as big companies, but universities, region, business incubators, and investors. We bring to them the ability to transfer civilian technology, softwares, assets, and space services on the shelf in order to transform them in for military purpose. We have a network based on the institutional space big operator, for example, ONERA, the CNES, and the French Defense Procurement Agency. And we can count on them in order to give us their technical point of view. So we have a network, but our daily work is to discover the needs from, at first, the Space Command. Our work is to discover the lack of space in the big program for the Space Command, but we exchange a lot with all the armies and services in order to discover their need for us, the need for space. And so when we discover the needs, and when we discover the companies, the ability from the civilian companies to bring us space services, space assets, the goal is to illustrate a need for space coming from the armies with a consortium, a temporary consortium coming from the civilian ecosystem to demonstrate the interest for us to take on the shelf space services, assets, our space civilian missions in order to demonstrate that it could be used quickly or in the future for military purpose. And so it's an illustration. A fact which is very important in the open innovation is that we cannot afford to pay for a whole space mission. We are looking for opportunities. We are looking for opportunities coming from startups or big companies to give us to take us to be able to invest a small amount of money in order to benefit from a space mission to demonstrate or to experiment, for example, using a an optical sensor for our own purpose. For example, to be able to exploit some data coming from locality of an antennas on a civilian space mission. And so our job is to find opportunities, to find civilian consortium, and at least to find military sponsoring to be able to meet the need for space and the ability to quickly give us the ability to experiment. And so the last pillar is the materialization of our project. We stop at the scale. Our job at the LISA, at the Open Innovation Lab, is to demonstrate that the civilian software or civilian space data is interesting for military purposes. The materialization, the scale, would be the French Defense Procurement Agency next step. And so in 4 years, we are currently developing 5 big projects with for an amount of 10 million euros coming from the French Defense Procurement Agency, it's conventional, but coming from, for example, regions, coming from the auto investments of companies which takes a risk with us to experiment. Then, what are our prospecting areas? I'll pay attention to the next slide because you will find maybe some ideas or some clues of our needs, which will be very helpful, I think, for you during the D-Day. So the prospecting areas at the LISA, at the Space Command Lab, we have 2 big thematics. First, it's the space control. It's how we will be able to improve the space operator from the colonel to be able to perform their daily works. And in this thematics, we have 3 pillars. First, it's the ability to improve the knowledge of the space situation. And for this mission, we will try to find every kind of raw data and every kind of new capability to process this data, such like new AI algorithm. We are very interested on the dualization of onboard sensor, which is currently flying on space mission. And then we are very interested to use ground-based sensor, civilian ground-based sensor, in order to improve our capability to track some space objects. So first, we want to improve our capability to we want to improve our ability to make revisit on a space object. Next, we want to improve our capability to monitor our current space capability support. And we are looking for simulation tool or digital twins, which will let us be able to numerize the space, the whole space. Voilà. Then we want to have data investigation tools in order to monitor and detect anomalies in our own satellite daily work. Then space control, we are very keen on all the new use of space objects, such as the new in-orbit services, refueling, manufacturing, are a very big concern for space operations. So it's very important for space control thematics. The second is about space support for operations. The French Space Command, one of the goals of the French Space Command is to be able to improve the ability for the armies or service to get benefit of the data coming from space. And so our job is to detect all the new ability, for example, to treat onboard data, even for intelligence purpose, for example, to be able to trade picture or RF data on our own satellites, or for example, to benefit a constellation, to be able to trade data on a satellite which could be equipped with GPU. We are very keen of new payloads, for example, the new radio frequencies interceptor, for example, the new software data the new software-defined radio, which are able to record and to be programmable. And we are very interested in the new onboard sensor, like hyperspectral, maybe SAR, radar. And so the last but not the least, as said the colonel, connectivity is one of the key concerns of our space control. It's the ability to make a military transport layer, and for it we are looking for the new intersatellite link, for example, thanks to laser or the RF capabilities. We are very keen of IoT, Internet of Things via satellites, and every technologies which will be able to make emerging a military space clue. And so I've presented you our prospecting areas, and now I will present you our current innovation project in order to make you discover the limit of our procedural open innovation or procedure open innovation. First, mini IoT. It's the first utilization for military purpose of the constellation of Argos, and next I expect at the end of the year the constellation Kineis. We have demonstrated the interest for the military to use a constellation which can provide a tracking of personnel or material and the ability to send message of alert on a centralized interface. And so we gave, for example, main battle tank regiments beacons. You can see in the left corners, which allow them to be tracking without any infrastructure, telecom infrastructure on the ground. And so it has been experimented last year, and IoT, constellation of IoT is a key concern for our pure military purpose. Then I will present you our ability to divert civilian software coming from the space supplier in order to make military software. Exops Defense is an agile development of tools coming from the society Exotel. It was just a benchmark of electrical thruster, but we were able in 2 years to transform this software on a platform able to detect abnormal behavior between thousands of satellites which we are tracking every day. And so ability to develop tool coming from the civilian ecosystem quickly with with an agile procedure is a key to for the challenge. Actually currently we are developing a software dedicated to space weather. Space weather will be a key concern in the next years due to the rise of anomalies coming from the sun, and for military to be able to monitoring the impact of the solar flares on our satellites or on other military activities such as radar, on-the-ground radar, pilot telecommunications, or GNSS blackout will be a key concern for military activities. And so if you can find us in the constellation the ability to monitor the impact of the solar flares coming from, for example, from the ionospheric anomaly, it should be very interesting for us. And so innovation path. So I've shown you our prospecting areas, the needs from a glance of the military needs for space. I have presented you the innovation project in order to present you what can we concretely do with open innovation. And then I will present you the project I would like to develop next year. And I expect you will find some clues for your challenge. Next, for the space control and the ability to improve the knowledge of the space situation, we are looking on all the new motorized dispenser, which will be sending in the next month, in order to be able to, for example, visualize the end of life of a satellite or a motorized deployer in order to host military payloads. For the space capability supports, we are looking for solution to be able to assess the cyber threat on satellite. And so we would like to develop a benchmark on the road, maybe directly on satellite to assess cyber threats. For the space operation, we are developing we begin to develop software solution such as DefInSpace, which is a project we will give the space operator the ability to quickly have a solution to show them the best trajectory, for example, if they have to make a maneuver in an emergency maneuver. And for space support for operation, we are on the lookout to discover all the new solutions which can improve and accelerate the OODA and the orientation, decision, and action, as said the colonel, to give quickly for armies on the ground operation, imagery, or GeoWind solution. And last but not the least, we are developing a high-performance computer, which will be the sandbag of the C4 or Space C2, and we will be able to assess and to fuse all the data you will be able to find on the constellation on our military purpose. So do not be afraid to bring us all the data you can find in the civilian space ecosystem, and especially the constellation. And so it's the end for me. So if you have any question, I will be glad to answer. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pascal. Thank you to Colonel Bernabé also for both of your presentations about the French Space Command and LISA. Just give me just one little second and I will show you our little presentation, because now we are gonna zoom on DefInSpace. And as mentioned, Pascal, you can ask all your questions in the little question box, and we will answer them at the end of this last presentation. Okay, so what is DefInSpace, first of all? Sorry. What is DefInSpace? First of all, it's been created in 2021 by the French Space Command, so you see it's quite young still. It's the third edition this year. This has been created by the French Space Command, but is operated by Aerospace Valley this year. This is a hackathon. As you know, it's a 24-hour event. And just to give you some information, you can see on the presentation some key figures from last year. So last year, DefInSpace happened in 5 French cities, as well as for the first time 2 European cities. It gathered around 240 participants, 48 teams, and we had the help from 90 experts, 90 coaches to help all the participants all over the world. DefInSpace 2023, what is the aim? First, it's the 3rd edition, as I said. At the moment, and it's closing for the cities who will organize DefInSpace this year. We have 6 cities in France: Bordeaux, Brest, Lyon, Paris, Toulouse, and Salon de Provence. And we will have 5 countries: Cyprus, Italy, Mexico, Peru, and Singapore. We may have a 6th one, but for the moment we are still waiting for confirmation. So this is an improvement on the number of cities, and also it's the first time we go global. Last year it was French and European, and this time it's completely international. We will also have a digital edition, like for the previous editions of DefInSpace, which means that the people, maybe you listening to us at the moment, who will not be able to join the Bordeaux edition, for example, or the Italian edition, you will have the opportunity to join the digital edition. This is for everyone. Okay, we will go through this aspect a little bit further, a little bit later. Sorry. So who can participate to DefInSpace? First of all, people of legal age. You have to be over 18 to participate. You can participate from all around the world. You have to be either a student, you can also be a young employee. When we say young employee, we mean less than 3 years of experience. Okay. You have to have notions in English because for all the people outside France, when you come to France, if you are selected during your local hackathon to the semi-finals and final in France, in Paris, you will have to do your presentation in English orally. Okay, so this is important to have notions of English, at least a few people in your team, if not everyone. Okay. DefInSpace accepts a variety of profiles. You can have a very different backgrounds. You can come from obviously technical background, but also marketing, legal, communication. This can be of use in your team. Even if you think it will be less important than the technical aspect, you know, there are 2 different challenges you will have to choose from, and one of them is more technical, another one is more generic. Okay, so maybe you can turn towards the more generic one, and if you have a different background than a technical one. Okay, but DefInSpace accepts a very different profiles to join the same team. It's very important. Also, we are trying to promote more and more females into this hackathon, because we can see most of the time that it's a majority of males. So we encourage the participation of females also. So what is the event schedule? So you can see on the left the next steps you will be able to join. First of all, there will be a bootcamp next week on Tuesday, 17th of October, and a second one on Friday. So you are more than welcome to join them. There will be also members of the French Space Command to do some presentations and to explain a bit more on topics related to the.
Michael, it will be the 19th of November. No,
Thursday. October. Thursday, 19th.
Thursday. It's not Friday. Sorry, there's a little mistake. So that's right. So the first bootcamp is on Tuesday, 17th, and obviously 2 days later it's Thursday, 19th of October. Thank you very much, Pascal. So you will have some more details on what is expected from you during the hackathon. Next will be the hackathon. So it will happen either in your organizing city, either it will happen on the digital edition. Okay, so it will start on Friday 17th of November, around 1:30 p.m. to Saturday 18th of November. Okay, so this is the broad timetable. Okay, a little bit before the start of the hackathon and a little bit after the end of the hackathon, because we will join. We will all start to work to welcome the participants if you are an organizing city before, obviously, the hackathon, and the juries will have to work after the end of the hackathon to decide which are the winning teams in their local edition. Okay, this is why this schedule. And then, if you are a winning team from a local edition or from the digital edition, you will be welcome in Paris on the 12th of December for first the international semifinals and then the international final. Everything happens in the same day. Okay, so we will welcome all the different winning teams from everywhere. And there will be, because there will be many teams, we are welcoming more countries, we are welcoming more organizing cities, and there will be probably more people on the digital edition for this edition. So there will be some semifinals, okay? And then at the end, a few teams, just a few teams, will fight for the final, and the winning people will be awarding afterwards. So there will be the award ceremony at the end of the session on the 12th of December. So let's go a little bit deeper into the hackathon. So this is a 24-hour challenge. What you need to do if you are listening to us at the moment and you're a future participant, or maybe you have registered already, which is great, you will have to choose your team. So your team can be between 2 and 5 people. You will have to choose your topic. You can already choose if you will go for the generalist or for the technical challenge. As I said, you will have 24 hours to work together. And what is important is during the hackathon in November, you will have 8 minutes of presentation to convince the jury, okay? During this presentation, you will have to explain the context, present the problem, present your solution with an action plan, and obviously be very convincing. Explain why your team is the best team to represent your organizing city, your organizing country, okay? This presentation, the written document, the PowerPoint you will present, will have to be in English, okay? Because if you are a winning team, you will have to present it to Paris in France at the final. So the presentation will not change, will not move from the moment you stop, you finish the hackathon, you finish your pitch, until the final, if you're selected to the final, okay? But the important thing is the oral presentation you give when you're in your country can be in your local language, okay? When you are in your country, for example, you are in Italy, you have your PowerPoint in English because you want to win and you want to go to Paris, but you don't have to, but you can present it in Italy in Italian, okay? When you arrive in Paris at the end, at the final, if you're selected, you will have to present it in English. This is very important. It's in the rules of the hackathon. You can also find all the rules of the hackathon on the DefInSpace website, okay, if you want to go deeper into that. So this year, the theme is constellations. Okay, and as I said, there are 2 challenges. As you can see at the bottom of the document here, the full content of the challenges will be revealed only at the launch of the hackathon. This is new. This is to just put everybody on the same page at the same moment, like a 100% real hackathon. You really have 24 hours to work on the topic, okay? But we are giving you some clues, some little bullet points about those challenges. So for the generalist challenge, it will deal with political and strategic issues, regulation, telecommunications. And for the technical one, monitoring, exploitation of space data, space services. Okay, so you can already start to think, you can already start to make some research, maybe, and you can also talk with your future teammates and to see, okay, who's better, what is the best challenge to choose for us in order to make it to Paris. Okay. So you will have useful resources during this hackathon. First, as I said earlier, there will be 2 bootcamps next week. They will give you some key elements. So we are really hoping that most of you can join us next week to see those bootcamps. Obviously, if you cannot join because the schedule is difficult for you, if you're in a country far away from France, there will be some replays. Okay, as is the case for this webinar. So there will be some replays available. You will be sent some links by email, so you can see them later on. You will have, as a participant from all over the world, France included, access via Discord to experts or coaches from the French Space Command and our partners and sponsors. Okay, we will see a little bit later in the presentation who are the sponsors, and you will see there are quite many, and they will provide a lot of coaches physically and digitally during this hackathon. There will be also some training sessions, a training session on the Saturday morning, either online or in person, as I mentioned, depending on your edition. So you will have the opportunity in your local edition or online to train with some people present, physically or online, so that you have some help, okay, to present your speech, to present your pitch, okay. You will also have access to the space defense strategy, also to hackathon guides that we will provide to you very soon. They will be available on the DefInSpace website, okay, as other documents. When I say hackathon guides, there are guides for the participants, but there will also be guides for the coaches and guides for the juries. So if you are listening to us at the moment as an organizing school, city, country, know that you will have all those documents sent to you and also available on the DefInSpace website very soon for all your coaches, for all your juries, and for all your participants. Okay, you will have also available on the website the scoring grid. Okay, so this is very important to follow this scoring grid so that everyone from all over the world have the same rules about the hackathon, not just it takes 8 minutes, it has to be written in English, but also all the specific points to rate all the different pitches and to decide who's your winning team. You can also access on your own to different resources such as scientific literature or via internet, via your own researches. When we get to the hackathon precisely, so as I said, it will start around 1:30 p.m. There will be a welcome session on Discord, so on the digital platform at 1:30 for everyone can join, and there will be some people from the French Space Command and from Aerospace Valley also welcoming you to this new edition, and then there will be logistics, organization, and start of group work. So just after the real start of the hackathon at 3 p.m., you will have some time to, if you have not yet decided on which challenge you're going to work, this is the right time. If you have not yet decided on who's going to be in your team, this is the right time. So if you are on a physical edition, you will go and see the organizers at in your city and tell them, okay, I chose this challenge and I'm with these people in my team. So that's the last moment to decide. It will also be the same for the people on the digital edition. You will make your last choices, and then at 3 p.m. you can start working on the hackathon. Then there will be some different workshops. There will be first a workshop that we provide on Discord for the participants to present what the jury's expectations will be during this hackathon. So if you can join us on Discord at 4:30 p.m. French time, obviously, you will have some help on the expectations from the juries. Then you will be able to work all through the end of the day and through the night, probably. And then you will start in you will either stay where you are working until the end of the next day, or maybe depending on your city, maybe they will close, they will open again early in the morning. It may happen. Then the timetable is 10 in the morning. There will be a pitch training for the coaches. So this is either in your city or on the platform. There will be a workshop for the jury. So this is at 1:30 p.m. There will be then at 3. It will be the end of the hackathon. So you will have to present your pitches to the jury, and they will have quite some time to deliberate. Okay. What we will need at 6 is for us to make the announcements of the winners from all over the world, not just the winners of the digital edition. Okay, so we will need to collect from every participating city between 3 and 6, earlier than 6, the names of the winning teams, for one winning team per challenge. Okay, so that we can announce them at 6 p.m. on Discord, so that everybody can see and can congratulate the winning teams. We will go through this timetable again, don't worry. So what happens then for the DefInSpace winners? As I said, there will be one winning team per challenge from each local edition. This winning team will then be invited to come to Paris on the 12th of December to attend the international semifinals, then final. So which means it will start early in the morning and there will be a selection, the semifinals, to access the international final. And right after the semi-finalists have competed, right after we will know the finalists. And right after we will have the finalists to present their pitch on stage in Paris, so that at the end we have 2 winning teams, one team from each challenge, the generic and the technical one. And those 2 winning teams will win the big prize for this year, which is go to French Guiana and visit the spaceport in Kourou. So we hope you're really up for it. This is a great prize. So we hope there will be a lot of you competing for this, and a lot of teams in Paris to attend this international final, I would say, on the 12th of December. So in a nutshell, just to just come back on the main points that I just discussed today. So DefInSpace obviously is a 24-hour hackathon to find innovative solutions. Okay, this is important. That's why it's aimed at young people, young students, young professionals. As I mentioned, it was created by the French Space Command and it's operated by Aerospace Valley for this edition. the two challenges, even though they will be different, they will be related to constellations. Just remember the dates as written on this document. Also know, as I said, that you will have a lot of coaches available. First of all, there will be the local coaches that will be selected by your local organizer. But as much as we can, we will provide some coaches and juries from our partners, sponsors, and from the French Space Command, sorry. You have, again, the mention of the winning prize. And please, you can already, if you haven't done it yet, register to the next webinars, which are bootcamp number 1 on the 17th of October, Tuesday, and bootcamp number 2 on the 19th of October, Thursday. Okay, so I mentioned the partners and our sponsors, so you can see them all on this slide. So we are thanking them a lot because without them, it won't be possible to have DefInSpace this year. And as I said, you can see how important they are. You can see the names. So what is important is DefInSpace is growing and growing. It's the first time it's going international. And we are really happy to welcome them all to this edition, and they will be of help to you, as I said, as coaches, as juries, during the local edition, but also they will all be there during the final on the 12th of December in Paris. So thank you all for listening. I hope it wasn't too much information, and now it's time for some questions. So I will try to answer some questions, or I will leave the ground to Pascal maybe for some other answers, depending on if they're on the organization of the hackathon or if they're on the more technical topics. Okay, so we have a question. Could we have the link for joining the Discord server? So if you go on the DefInSpace website and you do your registration, you will have the link to the Discord server, okay, automatically. So anyway, to register for DefInSpace, you have to go on the DefInSpace website. So this will come naturally. Bonjour, thank you for the presentation. For those of us who are participating individuals, is there a platform for us to connect with other participants or form teams? Also, like an Excel sheet where we can submit the list of finalized teams. So all this you will find on the Discord platform. On the Discord platform, you will first come as an individual, and then you will have possibility to discuss with people and form teams. Okay. Is there a framework for the presentation? There will be, you will have this information in the rules of the hackathon that you can find, as I said, on the DefInSpace website. But mainly, normally, apart from the fact it must be in English, actually, for the French people, because the final will be in French and it will be translated. The French people can have the presentation in French. All the others need to have it in English, and it needs to not be over 10 slides, if I remember well. Okay. We have many questions coming. I start with the latest one, sorry. Hello, we had already registered in a team of 4. Can we add another person? Yes, it's possible until you reach 5. You don't have to, you mustn't go over 5, so that's fine. Imagine a team what finds a good solution, but it technical deepness. I'm just reading it before. Technical. It's a question regarding how deep technically the technical presentation is. I'm the one but last. I'm starting from the bottom. First of all, there are 2 different challenges. So if you are not really into digging into technical aspects of constellations, maybe choose the more generic challenge. Probably you have to have one or two members of your teams a little bit more technical if you want to choose the other challenge, okay? But you will be able to see these elements when you have the specific challenges on the 17th of November. You will see, and you will be able to choose at the last minute if you want the challenge you choose. Okay. I'm going to are space-based SSA capabilities for threat detection? That's a very technical question. It's not for me. I will leave it to Pascal. Can you see the question, Pascal?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess I can.
I'm reading the question for everyone. Are space-based SSA capabilities for threat detection with onboard sensors and AI a part of the development plan of CDE?
As a chief of a space operation brigade, you can understand that I may have limits on what I can say and what I cannot say to this. So let's say that as you in the DefInSpace, you have no limits in thinking and suggesting something. You can bring out whatever solution that is compliant with the execution like that. So it's kind of a non-answer. I'm sorry for that.
Thank you anyway for your answer. This will also be the question a bit up, starting with thanks for the opportunity to share. Cooperation with the others is a major condition of a global success. How do you expect to bring the others to contribute, especially if they don't have any space assets nor national satellites?
It's kind of difficult question. I guess that the cooperation is the key essence in space, as I said, and there are a lot of cooperation. You can say even in the satellites, you are not only with dual use, but as well with sometimes different nations involved in the development, in the launch, and in during the timing of the lifespan of a satellite. So cooperation is concrete, is real, as I may say. And for states who don't have satellites, as I said during the briefing regarding the increasing numbers of satellites, the disruption has been made with the private sector and commercial. So the state who has no satellites are clearly options by with commercial companies to have access to space services by paying for it. So I think for France, the aim of having its own capabilities is linked with our strategy of which is to have some patrimonial national assets that we are sure about the provenance of the data, about the quality of it, etc. And it's kind of, but actually the commercial actors are part of our thinking because we have some national assets that the core of the different aspects of the use of space services, but we have as well some confident actors that might be private that kind of brings us some over services from space. And then the third circle, if I may say so, we may have a lot more companies that may give us some space services. So I guess having a satellite is as well a national decision because you can buy a satellite even if you don't have your own means to access to space. I mean, no rockets. So it's a national decision, I guess. I can say more. I hope it's answered your question.
It's a question of data and processing the data. As even you say, Colonel, we rely on private sector to fill the blank or fill the gap in constellation, problematic. So even if we do not have any satellite, if you provide us the software, which can be used, for example, as a hierarchizator or like a relay, it's one of the parts of the solution.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Next question bring up. What do you imply behind military space operation? military actions carried out in space?
I think I may come back on the space defense strategy, which is rely for French mainly on the defensive perspective, which means what we want to have is the opportunity to have at every time access to space services and be able to defend our space assets to provide the services we need. So regarding this philosophy, it means that military space operation may include, for example, moving a satellite from a threat, which is part of a defensive action. But regarding the threat, I've initially set with the blue lamp as a trigger, may that we are considering active capabilities of action in space, but always with the same philosophy: defensive first, no escalation as much as we can. But as military, we have to be able to face the evolution of the threats, to be able to ensure what I told at the beginning, is that we have access to the space services for military operation. So I hope it answers the question.
I think it does. A question that was asked quite a while ago, but is there a specific European cooperation?
There is a lot. I think space is about cooperation, as I said. There's a lot of cooperation. I think Galileo is one of them. The European State Agency is one of them. So I may say that there's a lot of cooperation in Europe and as well with other partners. France is part of multilateral cooperation, as I told in my presentation, but there is as well some bilateral cooperation that may go on according to the will of each country. So I think there is the whole level of collaboration that includes multilateral, as a CISPO, as I told an example, but there is as well some bilateral, like for example, like Anafidus, which is French and Italian for the satellite. So there is a lot of cooperation going on.
Okay. Deep question. Thanks for your presentation. What will be the impact on military operation if we lose temporarily or permanently our space capabilities?
It's a global question, not really. So first, the aim is not to arrive to such an event, of course. And so the defensive posture that we have is supposed to prevent us from being in such a situation. And then, of course, the resilience of our system is part of it. You know, is there any backup on the use of the system? The resilience may occur as well with commercial services, as I said, for a temporary timing. It can go through the collaboration we talked about by the multilateral aspect that we have with other countries. So there is option. There is things that are regarded as option to improve the resiliency of our system and the way we can prevent us for, of course, that nobody wants. It's a kind of blackout from space. That's it.
Sure. When can we access the material resources to elaborate our strategy? Well, as I said earlier in the presentation, there are different resources you can access. Some of them already available on the website, on the DefInSpace website. You will also have the possibility to rewatch this presentation when you want from tomorrow on. There will be some more resources as with the guides in a few days on the DefInSpace website. There will be some resources on the D-Day with the coaches, either physically or online. And also you can also start your researches right now with the little elements that you maybe gathered from this presentation. I mentioned a few key points regarding the two challenges earlier, but of course, the challenges will be only shown to everyone all around the world at the same time on the 17th of November only. Okay. Let me just check if I answered the questions. Someone is asking, could you please clarify less than 3 years of seniority? Are you referring to 3 years of experience within the same company, or is it based on the time after graduation? Second part of your answer, based on the time after graduation. So it's mainly aimed at young students and professionals. Okay. I've got some other questions. Oh, someone has left the meeting, so maybe I will answer. There's a lot of questions. I'll answer this one. Sorry, there's a few new ones. I will answer it because it's a long one. I'm an organizer. I was told the students had to register individually and not as teams. As of now, I have not initiated any team making process since I've never seen the students and participants. Oops. I only have their emails. Could you explain again when they are supposed to team up? And I can see the end of the question.
The process.
And within which process? So they can obviously, yes, they have to register individually. All the participants have to register individually on the DefInSpace website, and then they will create their team. They can create it ahead of the 17th of November, but they can also wait for the very end to choose their teams. Okay, I hope this answers the question. And let me see at the very end if there are some new ones. Yeah, interesting question. How accurate has to be the economic aspect of the technical challenge to be acceptable?
If you can invest in the solution in order to demonstrate the interest for the space command, it's possible.
Thank you. Do you think the work of space operator is the same as pilot in a cockpit?
Interesting question. I should say, as a pilot, it's very different of domain. Really, the time reference is not the same, the speed reference is not the same, the constraints of the physical domain are not the same. So I think it's really different. So let's say I think that's being a pilot may help you out with being faced to have to make a decision in quite a short time with constraints. There's no, I think, obligation to be a pilot, to be a space operator, to be clear. So that's it for me, but it's really different, really.
Okay, and one last question that I will answer fast. Are the presentations and the results from previous editions available on the website? Not per se, but you have some infographics, very interesting ones that you can find on the website to see some key elements from the first edition to the second, and you've had just the answers about the next edition, the third edition. Okay, so we will have to stop here. Thank you everyone for being here, Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel, and Commander for joining us. Sorry, yes, I have a last slide to show you, obviously. This is my name and contact. So if you have any questions, you can send them to me. You can also go directly on DefInSpace website and check. You will find many answers over there. You can also see this webinar. It has been recorded. It will be available. And join us on the next 2 webinars next week on Tuesday and Thursday. And we will go through different topics, and we will go also through same information to just, if you haven't had the opportunity to see the beginning of the conversation, to have the right informations before the hackathon. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. And I see you, Pascal, at least next week.
Thank you for the hosting, and I wish you good luck, everybody.
Thank you very much, and good luck to all the participants and organizers. Thank you all.
See you soon.
See you soon.